All right, when you were talking earlier about what LPG could actually be used for, not just for cooking, you talked about cars and fueling your cars. In many countries, of course, like India, I think many vehicles use, gas such as LPG. How can we make that happen in Nigeria? Particularly now we're talking about producing our own, manufacturing our own cars, locally made cars.
I think there's only one problem with being able to use LPG for gas in Nigeria, for automobiles. The problem is subsidy on PMS. As long as there's subsidy on PMS, it's not effective to use to use LPG for automobile. You have one product that is being subsidized, one fuel being subsidized, and one fuel not subsidized. So it's not. But if you remove the subsidy, then LPG starts to make. Across the just two countries across from us in Ghana, there are queues. LPG is being used for taxis. But until that is done, we will not be able to do that. But
okay, you're trying to say something?
Let me only add to that. When you drive your cars, let me take an example. If I'm moving from Lagos to somewhere in the east, I am sure of meeting filling stations that sell petrol along the road. That's not the case with LPG. There's this apathy. If I convert my car to gas, along the chain, along the road, as I'm driving, going to the east, where do I refill? Because there are not so many of these refilling plants that are stationed here and there. But what is coming up now is that where companies have started to embark on what we call skid plants. The skid plants can equally be regarded or referred to as auto gas filling equipment, short, small volumes that you can really find easier to deploy within some axes. So once people are coming to that, establishing some of these skid plants along the routes, one could be sure, you'll be rest assured that if you are using a car powered by LPG powered car, and you're moving, you can refill anywhere. You're sure of finding refilling points across the country. That is coming to take effect, going from the level of investment that's coming into the industry now. Another thing is awareness, which we're trying to create. But unfortunately, the awareness that is happening in the industry now is being driven by the private companies alone. And the cost is huge. So we cannot do that alone. That is where when we say where it has happened
before. Is it
before,
to say that government is not interested in developing this LPG industry?
I would want to use the word interested, but I don't really know what's there because a lot of presentations have been made. And for this to really stamp itself and have the grip we want it to have, government must come in because of the financial involvement in doing this. It's really huge.
Yeah, I think to add to that, I think what it is not that they're not interested. We made the commitment. I'm going to use an example for in the telecoms industry. What basically happened was there was commitment on the part of the government, and it exploded. And really, if you look at the LPG industry as well, that is the kind of potential it has. 5% of Nigerians, 5 to 8% of Nigerians use LPG. That's such a small, as you said, penetration at the beginning is a very small penetration. But there are other things that government can do. They need to make the regulatory framework a lot stronger. If you look at it, I said SON, DPR. You don't really have any, if I tell you telecoms, you know it's NCC. If I say wet products, you know it's PPPRA. But when it comes to LPG, you don't know. As you said, the private people are driving it. There are other anomalies that the government has to, a cylinder brought in, that you were saying is expensive for people to use, 40% of the, after landed at the port, 40% additional cost is added to it on duties and VAT. So that even makes it more expensive for the ordinary man to be able to buy the cylinders. On top of that, we have a ridiculous situation, if I can use the word ridiculous, where imported LPG is free of VAT, but locally processed LPG has a VAT attached to it. So it's actually more expensive to process it locally by adding the 5% VAT on it compared to the imported tax. Now, these are the kind of things that we will need the government to be involved in. The most important part of the government is the commitment. We need this tax breaks for a free period. We also need the government to actually get involved in the importation or the distribution of cylinders. I wouldn't say importation, they might want to manufacture it in Nigeria, but in the distribution of cylinders to the Nigerian public.